Can you hear me in the back? Good, good. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, I want to ask you, I cannot ask you, I want to thank you for having me here today, Mr. Bauer and you all and all the teachers. If my voice will get fast and getting fading away, so please let me know. Nowadays, my voice is not as strong as it used to be 50 years ago. So let me tell you a little bit about my story, my experiences during the Second World War and the Holocaust. That was part of it, big part of it, for me at least. My name is Alex Bauer. I was born and raised in Hungary, and fortunately the Hungarian Jews, I'm sure you know the basic things about the Holocaust. I don't have to repeat it and waste time with them. Actually, the Jews of Hungary have a little luck with the Holocaust. The flames of the Holocaust didn't get to that country only at about the toward the very end of the Second World War. We did know that something terrible is going on with the war itself, and for us particularly because we knew that the Jews had a very difficult time everywhere in Europe and throughout the world, and also in Hungary. And even though we weren't supposed to listen to shortwave radio, some people managed to get some equipment and did it. And some of the news filtered down to all of us there. Nothing we could do about it. We just hope that that's the way it's going to be. The war is getting to an end. Fairly shortly was the general consensus at that time. And we were happy that we got away, kind of free in those very difficult days. We lived in our homes. I wasn't even allowed to go to school. I was a college student in 1941, from 1941 on. And I have to tell you that I felt that we are pretty well treated, and even though the situation in general was very terrible. But I was a 22-year-old student in 1944. Probably wait until my friends find a seat. This situation went through to the early 40s, and everything seems to be reasonably well with us until we got a rude awakening one day on March 19, 1944. We woke up, we found that I was in the city where my school was, but we found that the whole country was occupied by German troops. This was totally unexpected thing. We didn't know something like that is going to come. But it was there, and it was too late. We couldn't hide. There was no time for hiding or going anywhere. We just had to take things the way they were given to us. We found that first I couldn't go to school anymore. Hungary was an ally, a strong ally of Germany, Hitler in those days. And it never occurred to us that Hungary might be among those countries that will be occupied by German troops. But there it was. And suddenly life changed for us from one day to the other. I couldn't go to school anymore. Was one kind of devastating thing for me that was happening. And a variety rules were enforced there. We had to wear a yellow star on the streets in public places, and there was a curfew instituted there at that time. And our lives suddenly became a whole series of restrictions on us. Not all ghettos were established, and Jews were put into ghettos to live, and so just was not normal, and nothing was normal anymore suddenly. I wasn't pressed into the military service, where all men of military age at that time were inducted, Jews into slave labor units. The other people, non-Jews, they were just inducted in various branches of the Hungarian army. And suddenly for us Jews, life became very, very difficult. We lost all our freedoms. The unit that I was pressed into was a slave labor unit with about, in my group, about 250 to 200 people. We weren't part of the Hungarian army. We were taken various places inside the country, and this was very important because those groups, similar groups that the ones that I was in, were taken outside the country on the Western Front and the Eastern Front, and they had much more difficult situation than our group that managed to stay inside the country and near the middle center of Hungary. And we were located on a hilly area, on top of a hill, with a big ammunition depot between the trees and covered and hidden by the trees. And this is the summer of 1944. Our life was shaped by this situation there. We couldn't naturally leave our camp. We were tortured, to tell you the truth, in all sincerity, but life became very difficult for us. Let me tell you a little detail about it. We were shipped to various, we were in a large slave labor camp there, but they peeled off groups from us, and they shipped us to other areas in southern Hungary, and we learned very quickly that we are facing some very difficult situation. Let me tell you just a little more detail. I have to think a little bit about it. I want to play in the right order so that I don't run ahead of myself.